Lady, I'm fucking dead. I'm Rob, that's Liam, and welcome to the podcast that when it's Rob's Choice digs up cult gems, dusts off forgotten VHS treasures, and celebrates the gloriously weird corners of cinema history. And this week is no exception as we look at a film that's equal parts buddy cop thriller, zombie comedy, and neon-soaked fever dream. Dead Heat from 1988, starring Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo. Also, welcome to the Hey Guys podcast. This movie answers a question no one thought to ask. What happens when your partner dies in the line of duty and comes back an unstoppable reanimated corpse? From slapstick shootouts to rotting flesh one-liners, it's a blend of horror, humor, and a whole lot of hairspray. So join us as we're going deep into the underworld of undead crime fighting. And Liam, all I'm going to say is Roger Mortis is rigor mortis. And realizing that made me laugh way harder than it should have. And I'll carry that moment with me forever. Equal parts pride and deep embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I started watching it, I was like, is the Roger Mortis like a purposeful nod to rigor mortis?
Yep.
And then I found out the laboratory is called Dante's laboratory. And I'm just, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. This is very unsubtle. But I did have actually that issue with the start of the movie where, because I've never seen this movie before. This is the first time I've watched it. And yeah, I know it's
same.
Oh, you've never seen it before?
No, I've never seen it. I've wanted to for so long, but I've never seen it.
Oh, that does come as a genuine. So I had just completely assumed that you'd seen it before.
But I mean, sorry to interrupt again. It does feel like a me, doesn't it? This movie does feel like a me.
100%. Yeah, but I just assumed that you had seen this film 17 times and that you were going to tell me about the, 22 sequels that I'd never fucking heard of. So yeah, to hear that you've watched it for the first time as well does come as a surprise, but it is cool that we're both going back to this movie for the first, like, I'd never even heard of it until you mentioned it a few weeks ago. And let's be honest, the only reason we're really doing this movie is because last week we did Red Heat, and this sounds almost like Red Heat. It's like, oh, well, if you're going to do Dead Heat, why not do it the week after fucking Red Heat?
Was it the unofficial Heat season?
Unofficial. What would be next then? Oh, just Heat. No.
Heat, yeah.
You can't do Red Heat, Dead Heat, and then Heat. I mean, you kind of can, but I feel like Heat doesn't belong in the same category. Although, I guess tonally, you're kind of getting three different movies. Like the utterly absurd in Dead Heat, the slightly silly in Red Heat, and then the serious Oscar bait in Heat. So, we've kind of done it out of order, but needless to say, spoiler alert, I haven't chosen Heat for next week. But
we could also do White Heat, Body Heat, The Big Heat, Heat and Dust.
Body Heat's probably more apt considering the two movies that have come before. But
Red Heat, Dead Heat, Body Heat, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shot, actually. Yeah, the unofficial Heat season. But yeah, this movie, when I first started watching it, I was like, I don't know quite what he's going for. And when I say he, I mean Mark Goldblatt, who, let's make no mistake, is a better editor than he is a director. So if you haven't heard of him, that's understandable. He directed an episode of Erie, Indiana, which is the first time I've thought about Erie, Indiana for years, and I remember really liking that.
Yeah.
He did Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher, and he's directed this, and that's it. I can kind of see why, but he's also edited Terminator 2, X-Men, True Lies, Starship Troopers, Armageddon, Commando, Rambo First Blood Part 2. Rando. He's got this amazing kind of, IMDb when it comes to editing. Yeah. As a director, not so much. However, once I got to grips with what he was going for here, and I don't think the critics did. This movie got savaged by the critics.
Oh, yeah.
And I do feel like a lot of them have kind of missed the point. This movie really is a throwback to 50s B movies. If the sight of Vincent Price in this movie doesn't convince you, there's even a scene later on where, they actually, I can't remember the name of the movie that's being shown on the TV. It's an old black and white movie, but it's clearly saying, just in case you haven't got it by now, this is what we're nodding towards. This is what we're going for. Only it's the quote unquote modern day, i.e. 80s version of that. And once I settled into the tone it was going for, I started to really enjoy it. But like I said, for the first 10 minutes, when there's like the bank robbery and it's not directed wonderfully, and you get that whole shootout sequence when it's not quite clear if they're being hit by bullets. And I'm like, wait, is everyone just a shit shot or are they zombies? I don't really get it. But once I got over that, I was like, oh no, I'm actually quite enjoying this.
Yeah, what I love about this film, and love is a strong word, but I'm going to stick with it, the practical effects. Mm-hmm. I thought the practical effects were absolutely fantastic. Like, all right, maybe fantastic is a strong word.
They're fun.
Oh, they are fun. Like the the weird biker dude that attacked Joe Piscopo. And side note, should Joe Piscopo have been in more things?
Joe Piscopo, right? I only know him as a guy who was in Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
Like I've seen
he
clips
was
of him.
he was the second lot with Eddie Murphy
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Saturday
yeah.
Night Live. And it was only him and Eddie Murphy that were kept. The rest of
Mhm.
them were shipped off because they were just crap.
Yeah, so he's one of those guys,
Yeah.
like most people, and myself included, don't know much about Joe Piscopo. And that's because he's predominantly famous for a TV show which just hasn't traveled historically. Like Saturday Night Live, especially around that time, coming off the Chevy Chase era, going into the Eddie Murphy era, Joe Piscopo, like it
Yeah.
was watched by millions upon millions a week. Absolutely massive cultural events in America. Over here, nothing. And it just, they're actually trying to bring it back. And it's I forget the guy who created Saturday Night Live, but he's involved in the British version.
Lauren Michaels?
Lauren
Lauren
Michaels, thank you.
Michaels? Lauren
Lauren
Michaels?
Michaels, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're going to give it another shot over in the UK, but I think only the past few years you've even been able to watch Saturday Night Live, but it's always hidden away on one of the back end channels,
Yeah.
showing up like whatever time at night, and nobody pays any attention to it. It's very strange. But he was obviously a big part of that and massively famous for a time, and then dropped off. But yeah, I think for most people, if you said Joe Piscopo, I said it to one of my friends in work. He's a movie guy, and I was like, "Have you heard of Joe Piscopo?" He's like, "Listen, I've heard the name, but I feel like it's one of those like I heard his name on The Simpsons, and I don't know who the fuck he is, but it's just one of
So
those guys."
he was in air quotes a big part of my childhood.
Of course he
Randomly,
was.
because I watched one film more than, and it's a Karate Kid ripoff, right? It's from 1992. Have you ever seen the
Oh,
film Sidekicks, the
yeah, I heard
Chuck
a
Norris
psychic.
one? Yeah.
Dude,
So
I was looking up at that, right? The premise to because I remember seeing the post. I'd never watched Sidekicks, and I remember seeing the poster and going, "Oh, it's Chuck Norris teaching the kids to do
no,
karate."
it's
And then
not.
I read the synopsis. I was like,
Yeah,
"Wait a minute, this sounds kind of fucking amazing."
it's so much fun. So Chuck Norris isn't teaching him. Chuck Norris is Chuck Norris, and the kid is obsessed with his movie, so just fantasizes that he's always his sidekick in his films.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point at the end where Chuck Norris teams up with him to take on the Cobra Kai of it all. And Joe
Is it kind
Piscopo,
of sorry? Is it kind of like proto the Last Action Hero then?
kind
Almost.
of, I would say, like he just daydreams a lot, but he's also being taught karate by Mako or Mako. You'll know him if you
Oh
see
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah,
face.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
So
yeah.
he's being taught karate by him, but he's being taught karate the Mr. Miyagi way. But
Awesome.
like yeah, catch these dough balls from a Chinese
Yeah, yeah,
restaurant,
yeah.
things like that. But and it's so much fun. And if we can, the thing is, it's not over here in the UK. If we could find it, it might be a YouTube copy. If we could find, we have to do it. So
Yeah, I honestly
I know Joe Piscopo from that.
once I read the synopsis for this film, I had the exact because I know you'd mentioned it before, and I didn't know Joe Piscopo was in that. I just remember you mentioning the movie Sidekicks and me remembering the poster and everything.
Yeah,
And I had just no interest, to be honest. But when I read the synopsis, I was just like, oh, wait a minute. This sounds wonderfully insane.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kind of on board to actually cover that for the podcast now. And in fairness, like if you'd said before, let's do Dead Heat, starring Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo, I mean, I was like, fuck, what are we doing, man? And I started watching it, and I'm not gonna lie, you kind of knocked out the park again. I'm not saying this movie's great. I don't even think the director would say it's great.
No.
But it is such a treat of a movie. No pun intended there. My apologies. It genuinely is a joy of a movie. It's a mess. It's not wonderfully directed. The tone is somewhat inconsistent. But, and make no mistake, a big part of the reason I love this film, it's 84 minutes long. Perfect amount of
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
It's
perfect under
ostensibly,
90.
and
Yeah.
it feels like an extended version of like Tales from the Crypt. Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like a Tales from the
Yeah.
Crypt episode, which has just been stretched out an extra 20 minutes.
Well, it's the same.
Could have done this in an hour, sure, but it's great fun.
It's pretty much the same running time as what Demon Knight would be. It could have been a sequel to Demon Knight kind of thing, where it was
Not
just Tales from the
quite
Crypt. But
that did cross my mind. It's not quite as good as Demon Knight.
so, but going back before I totally derailed this again. Well, I
Mhm.
didn't derail this because about the
That's
film,
fine.
but
That's fine.
before I said about Joe Piscopo, I was talking about the practical effect.
Mhm.
And when Joe Piscopo is being attacked by that two-faced zombie
Oh yes, gross.
guy, gross, but that effect is great. But it leads me to a question:
Mhm.
why do they need an asphyxiation room?
Dude,
Now,
I've literally
I
got that written down. Is
so I wrote
an
the question
asphyxiation
down.
room? Is it a real thing, or does
So
it just belong at Dante Laboratories specifically?
I wrote the question down, and then I think it answered it for me further on in the film. But I'm still going to raise So you had a asphyxiation room, and next to the room you had a puppy in a cage.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then he mentioned about when he said he was killed. He was killed in the animal thing. Something about these. So I got a feeling that's how they're meant to be humanely killing
Yeah,
test
they say
animals.
that specifically.
Yeah.
So, what's her name? The doctor that, well, she's not a doctor, whoever the hell she is in the end, Randy James. She says
Randy.
that. Yeah, I know. That's what it's there specifically for. It's
Yeah.
there to kill animals in a humane way. I don't believe that machine exists. Certainly not in that form. With like the thing, like the running ticker on the front, 60% oxygen, 50%. I mean, that whole sequence, while super fun, and that's when I really got an idea for what they were going for and just how silly this film was and what a like wonderful throwback it is. But the one question, and this feels like one of those Rob moments, but when Treat Williams' character is stuck in there, and I keep calling that Roger Mortis, obviously, he's stuck in there. Doug just starts punching the window, trying to break it. Dude, you've got a gun.
Yeah.
You've got to shoot.
Yeah.
All I could think of was Hans Gruber, shoot the glass. Shoot the fucking glass, dudes. It was so dumb. And of course, they're looking at it and just going, is anyone going to notice this? Yes. Do we really care? No, I guess not.
No.
We'll just get on with things.
Well, just Joe Piscopo as well. Like the introduction of him when they're driving in, and I don't even know whose car that is because they both drive it. But when
The
they're
red
driving,
Chevy.
the red Chevy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome car.
You've got Treat Williams driving it, Roger Mortis, and then you've got Joe Bigelow in the passenger seat doing his weird drumming on the dashboard thing for his introduction.
It's so
and it's
bad.
so weird.
It's so out of time. And again, that was when I really thought in those opening sections, I was just like, oh, has he dealt us an absolute stinker with this movie? Because between that and the shootout, and as I said, not knowing that they were zombies, I just thought it was like a really poorly directed sequence. I still don't get the knocking, like the out of time punching on the dash to the music.
I don't get it.
I think maybe they're just trying to imply that he's an annoying character. I mean, for the rest of the movie, he's fundamentally just a sexual innuendo machine. Like that is like 80% of his dialogue for the rest of the movie is just sexual innuendo. Oddly, he pulls it off. He looks at a glance. If you just saw a picture of him and you said most of this movie, he's just like just fucking shooting out sexual innuendos every 2 minutes. You'd be like, oh, I bet you his character is horrible because he looks like a brute. But there is something genuinely likable about him, and I think it comes.
He's oddly charming, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's the Saturday Night Live thing. Is that fundamentally the reason he's so charming or a relatively likable screen presence is because he has that comedic timing, which, in fairness, Treat Williams does as well. And I know, obviously, you have a much bigger attachment to Treat Williams than I do.
I love Treat Williams.
It's such an understatement. But the more I watch Treat Williams in these movies, the more I'm just like, oh no, I kind of get it. Like he's good in this movie. I also understand why he's not A-list. But in terms of that kind of like, 80% of his career is straight to DVD, but every so often he gets like a shot at the big time. It didn't quite work out, but I can see why he's one of those actors who's like just on the cusp between like A and B kind of thing.
So for Treat Williams, he knows his niche and he pretty much stuck with it. Mm-hmm. But it's really good because his leading roles pretty much 99% straight to DVD. But if you ever see him in bigger films, because he's the weird captain or father or something like that, he's always he did better at these roles when he got older. But I love Treat Williams in this. Do you know when I realized I was going to love this film?
When was that?
The moment Treat Williams, Roger Mortis started getting fucked by a weird cow carcass in Sub-Zero's resurrection butcher shop.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that because that sequence is bananas.
Did they watch Eraserhead and think I could do better than that?
It does get a little bit of Eraserhead there. I mean, there are moments like that sequence is when it kind of went off the deep end. There's some crazy stuff before that. Yeah. But where is it? The guy, Mr. Thule. The guy, he's from Gremlins, isn't he, Mr. Thule? I think his name's Key Luke or something. But his whole, like, I don't know why he's got a resuscitation machine in a Chinese restaurant.
In a lamp. Like, why is it in the lamp? Like, in the shop floor? What the fuck are you doing? Why are you wanting to resurrect chicken necks and stuff?
Nobody knows. And there's no reason for it. Like, it's going to go off when you see Professor Toru Tanaka there as the butcher. You're like, oh, well, if he's here, it's got... And by the way, usually you do this. But this is one of those moments where we've done like most of Professor Toru Tanaka's like major movies.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've done a lot of them very recently. So he's in Last Action Hero. We've covered that. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. We've covered that. You're not going to do
Yeah.
that again. Running Man, which obviously we covered much earlier. And there's one of his known fors, which we still haven't covered. We've talked about loads, and I totally forgot he was in it.
Darkman.
Oh, there you go. You're ahead of the game. Honestly, I watched Darkman so much when I was younger. I can't even picture him in it. I just seem to have like blocked that from my mind. But yeah, just another reminder that we have to cover Darkman at some point.
We'll also do Black Rain just to even out because he was he was in that as well.
Oh, that's a great film.
Yeah. The other thing, before we get too much into the butcher shot, I just wanted to bring up the fact that Treat Williams got fucked by a cow carcass. Mel Stewart as Captain Maybury was the worst angry black captain I have seen on film. Like he couldn't get angry, could he?
He's too nice. And don't get me wrong, I was glad to see him because, and I initially I thought it was Robert Picardi who's actually playing Lieutenant Herzog, and he's probably most famous from Star Trek Voyager, is playing the hologram Doctor.
I mean, coming from a guy that sports a mustache.
Yeah, it's a bad mustache.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
One of the worst cinematic mustaches I've ever seen in my life. But he's in it for like a blink and you'll miss it. But I thought, oh, is he playing the captain? And then when Mel Stewart showed up, and he is, make no mistake, reassuringly black, I was like, oh, thank God, the angry black police captain. And then he's trying to be angry, and they keep putting the camera right in his face. I'm just like, oh, he's too nice. He can't pull this off. It's a bit of a shame.
No, he was even nice. He was even nice. Like, he couldn't pull it off, so he's too nice in his personal life. He can't get angry. Mm-hmm. But even to the end, he's going on about, and I loved it, right? Because he's going on about the fact they destroyed all this property, they did all this. You had bad jokes to dead people. He's going on about Roger Mortis, and he's going nuts at him. Oh, you did this, unreckless. You destroyed a police car. You made stupid jokes at a dead person, and then at the end of it, they went parking tickets. But then through all of that as well, he just turns around and he goes, "Oh, but if you could arrest these guys, that'd be great." So he just convinced himself he was too nice as well. He couldn't be angry anymore.
Even before that, he's like, oh, you did this, this, and that. And then, the lieutenant said you did this, but, you did do what he couldn't. So, kind of good job, I suppose.
Good job, yeah.
And then he just kind of shouts, get out, but it's almost with like a pat on the ass on the way out the door. All absolutely bizarre. And at that point, it's still, other than the weird shootout in front of the jewelry store, it still kind of feels like a buddy cop movie at that point.
Yeah.
It's only when
it's all pretty buddy cop though, all the way.
No, it is, but it feels exclusively almost a buddy.
Oh,
cop.
sorry, before it becomes buddy zombie cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There is a tonal shift because, of course, there's still buddy cops and stuff like that. But my first kind of hint at just how weird it was going to get was actually when they caught up with Dr. Rebecca Becky Smithers. And she's just sitting there in the hospital, rinsing burners. She's got a frozen fish tank, which I don't even know how she's keeping frozen or why. Like, it's just insane. And it's a throwaway moment.
Cryostasis.
All of a sudden, and maybe it's the way because it's shot on a budget. I think it was it's not like a really cheap film. I think it cost $5 million, which in 1988, it's a smallish budget, but you can see that there's some money behind it. But those sequences in particular, I'm not sure if you ever watched a show called Garth Marenghi's Dark Places.
Not off the top of my head.
Dude, I mean, as a Stephen King fan, you really should give that a shot. Like, this goes back to like the early 2000s or mid 2000s. But the guy who wrote it, he's actually gone on tour at the moment because he's written a bunch of books and he's doing audio tours and all the other nonsense. But it gives off this whole kind of dark fantasy B-movie vibe all of a sudden. And this, and a big part of that as well is the simple fact that everybody downplays everything. Like, I've just got these constant notes all the way through about just how chill everyone is about everything. And right from the first moment, like they have the shootout outside the jewelry store. They shoot them about 1 million times, and then no one mentions it for about 10 minutes. And then it's almost like a throwaway comment, like, wasn't it weird that we shot those guys like 100 times and they didn't die? It's like, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Joe Piscopo says maybe they're all flesh wounds. We hit him 50 times, maybe they're all flesh wounds. Why? The other thing that nobody questioned about, two things about that shootout at the beginning was nobody questioned the one copper on his own, decided to be a hero, went right up to them, got shot in the head. Basically, they shot an Uzi at that copper and he took one bullet shot to the head. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. But then when Treat Williams, when Roger Moore said, "I'm borrowing your car, Lieutenant,"
Mhm.
he ran past what I could only say was about 15 police cars
Mhm.
before he got to the lieutenant's car at the end of the block. By the time he got to that car, he must have been like, well, fuck this. I'm out of the firing range. Like, I'm back home.
Yeah, I mean
So
that
many
that was
cars.
silly, and nobody even mentioned the fact that in that shootout, like 8 police officers got killed, and was just like, it's no big fucking deal.
Yeah.
It's no
But
big
what
deal.
I wanted to say, the other thing as well, the captain said, and you used an unauthorized weapon. Was
Yeah,
that the
like that's the problem.
shotgun or the car? And if it was the shotgun, it's the lieutenant's shotgun because it was in his car.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. And that's the problem. Every question you ask about this movie probably doesn't have an answer. And every time, you think, oh, this is weird, they just kind of pile on something stranger and stranger. And again, it does bring me back to my issue with the film, I suppose, is that I don't know in any given moment just how in on the joke the movie is. Like, I know
Yeah.
he's going for an old school B movie aesthetic and vibe. But some of it, I'm like, is it purposefully rubbish because it's going for that look? Or is it kind of a bit of both? And I can never quite figure out where the line was between like homage to like 50s, 40s B movie and just being slightly rubbish, certainly in terms of the direction. And the fact that I don't know where the line is, I think it actually gives this movie quite a bit of charm. I mentioned it before. I don't like movies which are purposefully rubbish, and I don't think it's ever going for purposely rubbish. But when they're like, "Oh, wink, wink, nod, nod," it's like almost the charming movies are the ones where it's like we're trying really hard to make something special, and it doesn't quite land. This movie kind of falls somewhere in the middle. But the fact that I can never quite figure it out is maybe a compliment to the movie overall. I'm not even sure. It's such a strange movie. I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it. I only watched it yesterday. I feel like I need to have watch it another 2 or 3 times, take a week off, really think about it. But here we are talking about it anyway.
I can guarantee you this is going to be one I will watch again. Like I've never
Oh
seen
yeah.
it before, but I will watch it again. You know what? When Roger at the end of it started becoming more zombie-like, not a
Well, after the
zombie
ambulance crash.
after the ambulance, but not a zombie as all the other zombies in the film. All the other zombies looked like they were wearing leather-face skin masks.
Yeah, not great. Not
No,
great.
but have you ever seen a film called Brain Scan?
Brain scan. I was going
Yeah,
to say brain dead, which is weird because you mentioned it earlier when he gets like humped by the cow carcass.
yeah,
It actually, I thought it went a little bit Peter Jackson in that moment. And it reminded me of Brain Dead. It's like, oh, it's really going for like kind of like that physical horror comedy. And it doesn't
yeah.
quite come back for the rest of the movie. It's almost exclusive to that bit. But I'm sorry, that's a bit on the side. I have not
No,
seen
that's okay.
Brain Scan. It's
So
not the one where
Brain,
the dude, like his face is being peeled off on the poster, is it?
no, no, no.
Okay.
I know the one you're on about, but no. Brain Scan was Edward Norton, right?
Okay.
And it was about a virtual reality game.
Hmm.
That when he does the virtual reality game,
Hmm.
he can a monster comes to life. And I'm going to post in our chat. Sorry for everybody else. I'm going to post a picture in our chat there, and I think this is the first time I've ever used the chat when it. But the monster looks like Greet Williams at
Hmm.
the end of the film.
It does, yeah. I'm just taking a look
Yeah,
and know this Edward Furlong and Frank Langella.
yeah.
Wow,
Frank,
that is quite the interesting cast to say the least. And it's not my favorite design, the monster in Brain Scan, to be
no,
honest. This is all relatively new to me, although it does have a very, very similar Rotten Tomatoes to IMDb disparity as this film. So this
yeah.
movie was like 11% Rotten Tomatoes and 6.1 on IMDb. Brain Scan is 13% Rotten Tomatoes and 6 on IMDb. So some people like it. It looks odd, to say the least.
It is.
But yes,
It
Treat
is odd.
Williams does have that look for sure.
It is, but every time I was looking, I was thinking, "Fucking, I've seen you before." Where have I? And then it dawned on me that it's
Treat
Brain Scan.
Williams looks much cooler. So, right, his whole kind of like evolution into
Yeah,
full
yeah,
zombie mode is massively inconsistent, massively, and especially like you say with the even with the other kind of like people in and around the lab. Like some of them look like zombies. One of the dudes, he's just reading porn at the front desk, which is just
yeah.
straight. I don't know quite what they're going for.
But he's
there.
not even a zombie. He's just a guard.
He's just a guard. I was just like, oh, is this supposed to be something to play like he's a zombie? So he's just a guard who's just reading porn at Dante. I was like, is that standard or is that just what they do at Dante Laboratory?
Well, when they realized they're actual villains, like, oh, we're working for villains, so we're villains as well. I'm pulling the porno out, but we're on duty. Fuck it, we're villains. I can pull the porno out.
Villains read porn at the desk. But to bring it back to Treat Williams, it's his evolution is massively inconsistent. But I will say, when he comes out of that ambulance crash at the end and he's as close to full zombie as we see him in the movie, I actually think he looks really cool. Like, there's a point when he gets that like outfit from Randy's place, like it's Randy's ex-boyfriend, and they try and like, they almost imply that the outfit is kind of lame, but because it's like the late 80s, you're like, I have no idea if it is or isn't. It just looks late 80s. But when he gets all burnt up and shit at the end, I'm just like, no, he looks cool as fuck now. He looks cool.
Last week, well, two things. First thing, you're talking about Treat Williams' evolution. I don't know what he thought the lipstick was going to do. Even if he's going paler, maybe by, and it obviously, like my wife's a makeup artist, so I like maybe get some blush. But why do you just want to concentrate on your lips? I don't know.
It's so strange. And when he looks in the mirror, you don't even see, he just looks like him. It doesn't look like there's any problem. And then he just like makes things worse by putting lipstick on. I was like, that was just fucking, I think it's literally just so Joe Piscopo can make sex jokes. That's it.
Well, and it's Chekhov's lipstick joke. Because it brought bloody Joe Piscopo back at the end of the film. When he goes, remember my lips? I look like, and it's like, oh yeah. Oh, hello, Roger. How are you?
I want to go off on one about the ending, but we'll get to the ending in due course. Because
what was the other thing? We were talking about. Last week I almost spoiled what the film was going to be. Do you remember last week we were talking about Red Heat, and I said you'll never guess who's in this film, and then I realized I was talking about the wrong film. So now we're a week ahead. You'll never guess who was in this film.
I assume it's not Vincent Price. We've not mentioned it, which is awesome. But
the copper, because you already mentioned it, after Roger comes out of the ambulance. The copper that holds him at gunpoint, and then Roger takes his gun after it. And the copper that goes, "You're a cop."
Yeah.
Shane Black.
That's Shane. Oh well, it's because his brother wrote this.
Yeah, but that's Shane Black.
I did not notice that at all. I knew his brother wrote this film, but I didn't put those two together at all. Although I thought about that cop. Treat Williams puts him in a tricky position. So he comes back from the dead right in front of him, gets out the body bag. And shows him his badge and says, "Give me your gun." Now, in that position, what you do? Because on one hand, you're just like, I'm pretty sure he's a zombie. On the other hand, he is definitely a zombie who outranks you. So I'm just like, I don't know, do you give him the gun or do you not? I don't know what the protocol is in that situation. I mean, I think he's probably done the right thing in the end and just like, I'm just going to give him the gun. I don't want any zombie grief. But I assume there's no rule where they're just like, in case of, zombie in a superior position, ask for your gun, do this. But really did put him on the spot there.
Also, I know this is a film about zombies, and I know you have to have zombies in it. But was anybody actually alive by the end of this film? Like every fucker killed off. They killed off Randy. They killed off the other who had sexual tension. The Rebecca, you said her name was, sorry. So they killed Rebecca off. Obviously, Joe and Roger were killed off. The fucking Vincent Price, was he dead really or not dead?
He was dead, he'd been brought back, so he was dead.
Yeah.
So I mean, my big concern at the end of the movie, and one of my biggest issues with this film, is the whole, so all of a sudden you've got McNabb, Thule, and Loudermilk all there. And I really don't get what their fucking relationship is. Like when they go and see Thule at his like bizarre Chinese death fucking zone, I'm just like, what exactly are you doing for like? I like the fact that McNabb just rolls up at like 4 or 5 points in the movie, just looking purposefully evil. Like, he's the bad guy. It reminded me a lot of Timothy Dalton in Hot Fuzz. When he just rolls up, says something like outrageously evil, and then just drives off pretending like he's not. That's kind of cool. And I didn't mind Thule in and of himself. And obviously, I was so glad when Vincent Price got his big moment at the end of the film. But as a triumphative, is that the right word? Triumphative? Yeah, I think it is. As a triumphative, I don't quite get how they all fit together. I don't really care, but that was my big issue at the end. It's just like, wait, what are they all trying to... What is their relationship?
I don't get Thule and Sub-Zero. I don't know if they were just using the butcher shop, maybe, and this is me guessing,
Mhm.
using the butcher shop as a test. That was a test lamp. If
Okay,
it can
okay.
bring animals back from the dead, that's called sort of the like animal testing, I guess. If the duck necks can go back to life, then we'll
Yeah.
do it on a bigger scale
And
and
that's
try
why he
humans.
would
Yeah,
have the equipment. Okay, yeah, got
yeah.
you.
So I assume that's the animal testing before they went on to the human dead human testing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I guess that what was it, Dead Doc or Doc Dead or whatever his name was on his license plate, Ernest McNabb.
Mhm,
I'm guessing he found out somehow about Loudermilk's thing
mhm.
and then just started using it for personal gain because he's bringing people back to life to just go on a robbing spree for him. That's all that's happening with him.
It's so tenuous. It's like in even we last week when we did Red Heat, we had a similar issue where there was like a gang who were in the film and their relationship to everyone else in the film is somewhat tenuous, and you just spend the whole time going, "Why are they here? Do they need to be here?" You kind of have that, and don't get me wrong, because it's only 84 minutes long, and they're only on screen together, those three bad guys, for literally a few minutes. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't
No.
really impact your enjoyment of the film. But at the same time, I'm not convinced Mr. Thule was required at all. Maybe there's, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few more pages in the script where that makes sense, or they have a bit more to explain the relationship between Loudermilk and McNabb, but it just never really happens. You just like by the end, just like, I think they're all evil. I never really got a feel for just how evil Loudermilk, for instance,
Yeah,
is supposed
but
to be.
was it Loudermilk as well? I missed this part. Was it Loudermilk who left the was it number to letter configuration on the lamp soaked in blood?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So why would Loudermilk do that to set a body doc? That was like his license plate, body doc.
Yeah.
Why would it set a body doc
I don't know.
if body doc's his partner?
I don't know. I have no idea.
What was the weird video as well? Like, oh, we're just gonna have a video just to have Vincent Price sat in a bed.
Well, I thought that was going to be just as a. I thought that was going to be all we'd see of Vincent Price. I really thought, it's like we've got him for like a day. We just have him on a video screen, and it's just going to be a cool nod to the kind of movies we're, taking inspiration from, and we'll just have Vincent Price in it. I was very happy to see him at the end, and as I said, he's got one of the most iconic voices in cinema
Yeah,
history. He looks baller as fuck in that white suit. But I just
that
sat
was
there,
his
just like,
suit. He came
oh,
dressed in that.
100% he showed up wearing that fucking suit. But I'm just sitting there going, wait, so why did Loudermilk do that? What is his relationship? And even at the end, everyone else dies again or whatever, or they run away. And then Loudermilk's just kind of there in the background going, oh no, my machine. And I'm like, okay. It's just, yeah, it is at times horrendously written as a
Yeah.
movie.
And speaking
But
of
it totally overcomes its numerous shortcomings by being just such an incredibly fun watch.
I agree with you on the fun watch, but speaking of the writing,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't know how to kill their own zombies in this film as well.
No, they just stand
Because
and shoot each other.
but they all die in remarkably different ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shot to the head or anything like that.
No,
Like one gets hit by a car, dead. One gets blown up by a grenade, dead. That's fine. One drowns, dead. Okay, great.
one's electrocuted.
Yeah, one's electrocuted. Randy melts
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, like she's the fucking Wicked Witch of the West. She just melts. Okay, fine.
It's like a really shit version of the Lost Boys when they,
Yeah,
no two vampires die
yeah,
the
die
same.
the
So they
same.
all,
Yeah,
death by stereo and all that. It's kind of like that, but like a lame version. And the Doctor one, I'm sorry, not the Doctor one, Randy. It is
yeah.
Randy James,
I
isn't it?
before you mention, I don't
Oh, go for
understand
it.
as well. Sorry, I don't understand because I was speaking about Randy. I don't understand her process. She's obviously been dead longer than Roger,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but Roger only had 12 hours of not deteriorating.
Which everyone was mega chill about again, by the way.
Yeah.
Mega
But
chill.
why was she okay except for her hand, which looked like Gollum's hand all of a sudden? Like and
It was
then she melted. I don't get it.
it was weird because it was almost like, oh, well, I was sworn to secrecy not to say anything. And it was almost as if because she suddenly mentioned it to Treat, that or Roger, that somebody had found out and then like pressed a button to kill her. Like the timing was so like, don't get me wrong, that sequence is the visually the most impressive and most unimpressive sequence in the film. So when her hand starts to go like all rigor mortis and turn like a witch, basically for like the best way to describe it, if you've seen this film, for 10, less than that, 2-3 minutes, say, this movie turns into The Substance, the Demi Moore film recently, which was released last year or earlier this year, sorry. So her hand starts going, and then her face starts melting, and the practical effects are so fucking good. And he just watches her just melt, and it's full on body horror. Just to be clear, I don't know why she's taking a shower. No fucking clue, but she is. Fair enough.
The last shower before she melts, I guess.
Yeah, but so she melts, and you're just like, all right, fair play. It makes no sense, but that looks fucking dope. And then it's followed by a really lame-looking scene of her skull talking to him as it starts to melt.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's from a completely different movie. It's very strange.
You know what you said as well? You said it's almost like as soon as she told him, somebody pressed the button. It reminded me of, you ever seen Tales from the Dark Side, the movie? You've seen that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, it's an anthology movie. You've got a wraparound story, but you've got 3 different stories within. Well, one of the stories stars James Remar and Ray Dawn Chong. And randomly, this is the second week that I've mentioned both of those characters. I mentioned Ray Dawn Chong and James Remar last week.
That's when you know what kind of podcast you're listening to, when you get those names back to back.
And it's the episode where James Remar's an artist and he runs into a foul of a gargoyle or a ghoul or something. And the ghoul says, never tell anybody about our meeting and you will have a lovely life. As soon as the ghoul thing, gargoyle thing flies off, he meets a woman, marries her, has kids with her, realizes that he wants to tell her everything about his life. So he tells her about this gargoyle the night they met. And then she goes, why did you tell me? You said you wouldn't tell anybody. And then becomes the gargoyle and flies off with the kids. The end.
Awesome.
Like, what the fuck?
But at least, right, that's mental, yeah? But at least in that movie, that part of the movie, the anthology, it made sense. You're still like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it's mental that it's actually the gargoyle or whatever. But that makes more sense than her just randomly fucking melting. Just out of the goddamn blue.
Yeah.
And again, I was already mentally, I mentioned it in the podcast. Like every time you think you're like trying to deal, like, wait, does that make sense? They throw something else at you. This is a perfect example of that. Where I was watching it and going, why is she having a shower? Like, why, other than for her to be, and then you realize it's just so she can melt while being half nude. And then, of course, when she melts, you're just like, wait a minute, why is she melting now? There's no answer to that. Maybe someone listening to this has seen this film a bunch of times and they can make sense of it. I certainly fucking can't. And I'm reassuringly, you can't either. So that's something.
No, the other question as well is why pressing enter on the machine a second time causes Ernest McNabb to explode in the most wonderful way I've ever seen.
Awesome.
Like he exploded so well. 2 parts of his coat stuck to the top of the machine. Like it was a beautiful explosion, but I don't understand how he exploded. He should have got fried.
Well, the weird thing is they go out of their way to try and explain that. Like, oh, what is going to be... Because, Treat Williams goes like full-on B-movie madness, where he's like, oh, what? I can't remember what he says exactly. You stole
it from me. Yeah, you stole my moment.
Stole it from me. Yeah. Literally screams out. He's like, oh, do you know what happens if you bring back somebody who's already been resuscitated? And it's like... Wait, what the fuck? 1, why would you know that? And 2, so, right, he dies, he brings him back, and then he just presses the button. Like, I thought to get resuscitated again, he would have had to kill him again and then do it. Or is it just like, oh, if you run a zombie through the zombie machine, this is what happens. They blow the fuck up. I don't know how he would know that. Maybe he's finally read the small print, which no one else was, like... When he gets turned into a zombie at the start of the film, Treat Williams, for one, again, everyone is super chill about bringing him back, except for Joe Piscopo suddenly says, the soul, Becky. But what about the soul? Like this really, like...
Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's really poetic line in an otherwise unpoetic movie.
Before you mentioned the small print, because you were talking about the machine, that's what I wanted to bring up. The nonchalantness of that being a crime scene, but nobody caring that they've taken the dead Roger Mortis from wherever he was. They've laid him down in this machine and they've just gone, oh, we can bring him back. Watch. Like, there's no question. There's no morality question except for the soul part. It's like, let's just press enter. But it's funny as well, because that machine is way ahead of its time, not even for bringing people back. But as soon as they laid him on there, The machine recognized who he was and how he died. He didn't type anything in. It came up on the screen, Roger Mortis, death from asphyxiation.
Yeah. It's pretty
Like,
clever. The machine
yeah.
was fantastic, but obviously she's just gone, oh, I think this machine will bring him back. And then they bring him back without any thought, as you say, any morality, any of that nonsense. And then like 5 minutes later, she's like, oh, yeah, so I know we brought you back. I've just read the small print. Probably should have done this earlier, but it turns out you probably will be suffering with progressive decay of reanimated tissue and irreversible cell damage, which basically in layman's terms means in 10 hours you're going to turn into mulch. To which again, he's mega chill. Like even later on, when he's like, when the doctor, not Randy, the other one, Becky Smithers, it's like, oh no, I think I could reverse this. We could turn this around. She's like, no, I've got to do my police work. I've got to catch this guy. It's like, well, how about you fix yourself first and then go catch this motherfucker? But no. I'm just so committed to the cause.
I think that's a good question around the soul, though, because he's super chill again when he finds a dead body in the ambulance. To the point where he's having a conversation with her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then he's again super chill when he finds Doug dead in probably what could be one of the worst ways I've ever seen a person die on screen. They tied him up and just dunked him in his fish tank.
It was so low key that up until the end, I didn't realize it was Doug. I was like, it can't be Doug. I was just like, they even said the name, but it was such a weird low-key death. I was just like, oh, it must be like her ex-boyfriend or something like that, because nobody gave two fucks about this guy hung upside down. Like you said, a truly horrendous death. But no, it was Doug, and he couldn't give a shit.
And I'm pretty sure she had the shower in Doug's house. I'm pretty sure that's where she had the shower and died. Like, they just found Doug upside down dead. And they just go, oh, that's all right. Well, Doug's gone now, so there's nothing we can do about it. Why don't you go have a shower? Just wash it off.
It's so. I only click for me when they obviously have the big showdown at the end. So after he's turned into like full on zombie Roger Mortis, such a great name, and they go to the secret lab. And when they go to the secret lab and Vincent Price is there, make no mistake, this movie goes like full. Remember, have you seen the film Get Out, the Jordan Peele film?
Yeah.
The ending of that where it goes mental and there's like that secret lab underground. That's what it reminded me of. The end of this film. I was just like, oh, this has got like a cool Get Out vibe. And it does, but it's also P-movie nonsense. You mentioned before, like, the whole rules about killing zombies. So they just have this bizarre shootout on the way in where Troop Williams and this other zombie who doesn't look quite zombie enough. So you're like, is this just a zombie or are they just terrible shots? So they're like 2 foot away from each other. Of course they're using Uzis because this is the 80s.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen more Uzis in a movie in my life. They just shoot clip after clip at each other until eventually he pushes them into the asphyxiation machine, throws a grenade in for good measure, and then shoots at the grenade on the way through the door.
Yeah, just
how many bullets have you got?
Speaking of bullets,
so dumb.
The one thing that upset me in this entire film, and only one thing really, was when Roger Mortis kitted himself up, and he had his rack, his belt of magazines on him.
Uzi mags,
Yeah. On his back.
Yeah.
Really upset me. Like, why is it on your back?
I guess you could maybe spin it around. I mean, all we know is that clearly he needs all the fucking bullets. Nobody's reloading, but he had to show us like, oh no, I've got different mags. It's fine. And when they go in there and you get that reveal that it's Joe Piscopo, his partner, who's like been supposedly he's been dead for too long, so his brain's turned to mulch, and he's like, oh, we can just tell him what to do. That lasts for 7 seconds. So he wakes up, he's like, must kill friend, starts to choke him. He says one line, he's like, oh, remember that time when I put on the lipstick? And he's like, oh yeah. It's not like he's fine. Immediately fine. He's like, oh, fine. Oh no, the brain damage, that's better. Got better. Got over that immediately. It's absolutely ludicrous.
So McNabb is kitting these zombies out to do the robberies as well, is he? So he's giving them the ammo, the guns, and I fucking hell, as we've learned from Don't Stop on My Mum Will Shoot. Apparently Uzis
and we've all learned so much from Stop on My Mum Will Shoot.
Uzis are pretty easy to come by, especially in this fucking film. But where's McNabb getting the GIMP masks? Also, the GIMP masks that fit perfectly on the biggest heads I've seen in a while.
The game, Matt, like I said, of all the strangeness throughout the film, it's still the opening that I found the oddest, and it also looks the cheapest of the
It's
rest of
so
the film.
cheap. When that guy, like, they picked two big guys off the street and said, "You can act, come with us."
Mhm.
Because when that one guy tries to break the glass, but
Yeah,
it must be so sensitive, that glass, that the director has turned around and said, "Can you not hit it hard, please?
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
fix
yeah.
it in post." It's the way he swings, and then
It's weird. All I can think is the movie I thought of was because when you get the Roger Mortis like full zombie moment, we mentioned a few times, you get like the ambulance sequence, and it feels like it's from a proper 80s action movie. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, I think they spunked all the money there. Because what was the movie we did probably a couple of years ago now? We did Life Force. Life Force
yeah,
was a movie that clearly had a pretty big budget in the grand scheme of things, more money than it should have had, put it that way. But there's one sequence which looks especially resplendent. Oh, there's a strange word for me to use, but it looks amazing. And you're just like, oh, they just pumped all the money into that sequence, and then the rest of the movie just looks okay. It feels like they spent so much of it on like an ambulance explosion that the opening sequence, they probably shot it like in reverse order. And they're like, man, we've got
yeah.
like $17 left. So we're going to put on these GIMP masks for some fucking reason. And yeah, it's like I said, if you're watching this film for the first time, don't be put off by the first 5 to 10 minutes because it's a rough start. It's a
Yeah.
rough fucking start. It improves greatly. And by the end, when you got Vincent Price giving his speech and it's all gone full gets out and I'm totally on board with the tone, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying this. Don't get me wrong, the ending, when they just, do they die? I don't know what they're fucking implying. The ending is so abrupt and so mysterious.
You have to love this could be the end of a beautiful friendship as they're walking away.
It's a great
Like,
line. It's
Roger's walking out to die. I mean, he can't have much left into him. He's about to turn into like Randy as well and just fall apart.
Mhm.
But Joe is just starting his 12 hours of undead life.
Yeah, but he's already talking like he's thrown in the towel. I think literally that whole sequence at the end is just an excuse to get that line in. And there is a handful of great lines. The one we haven't
before you
mentioned
mention the
actually.
lines. Sorry, before you mention the
Yeah, go for
lines.
it.
Sorry, you're talking about them walking out. It kind of makes it look like as well that they are walking into
Heaven.
death, into heaven. Yeah, because you get the bright light in front of them and the smoke and
It's like
and
the end
everything
of
like
Greece,
that.
but without
Yeah.
the car. Which is a shame because they have a suitable car to recreate the ending of Greece if they wanted to. They could have done a great homage there. But one of my favorite lines, and it did make me laugh, was Joe Piscopo when he's talking to Professor Toru Tanaka. And I prefer just saying his full name rather than Butcher because it's a fantastic name. He says, "Listen, Mongo, we're cops." It's like, oh, you don't get that in movies anymore. Listen, Mongo, we're cops. But there is kind of, again, similar to Red Heat, a kind of so-so film, tonally inconsistent, but with a handful of absolutely fantastic lines. The one thing I'll say is, I actually think the buddy cop element, that's another thing we could be doing an unofficial season of. Buddy cops. It's just all happening by accident. I think these two are better. And that is really the heart of the movie. I love the tone. I love the throwback to B movies from the 50s, all that jazz. I love Vincent Price showing up. I think that's a great touch. But fundamentally, it works because I like watching Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams talk
We've
shit.
got to say some of his other lines though, because you're under arrest. You have the right to remain disgusting. I thought was quite good. Maybe you can drown it in A1 sauce when they're trying to figure out how to kill the rapey cow,
ducks.
the rapey animated cow.
No, there's no getting around it. You are right. It's a rapey reanimated cow. That's exactly what it is.
Sorry to interrupt your erection. When Doug shot a porno mag in a crime scene, just okay.
Okay, if you had any kind of doubts as to what kind of movie this is, and by the way, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it already, it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Tubi as well. Like I said, 84 minutes, totally worth a go. Totally worth a go. Although I do feel the same about the movie. You know, like we mentioned a whole bunch of times, like when you're watching on the reason we did Red Heat was because we were watching Desperado for the week before the podcast. And then on ITVX, it just suggested, oh, why you might like Red Heat. I was like, I do like Red Heat. Well, this week on Amazon, it went straight into another movie. I was like, oh, is this going to be another winner? It was Bloody Pom Poms from 1988, otherwise known as Cheerleader Camp. And I was like, the credits are rolling. I looked at the poster. I was like, the poster's fucking cool. Then the movie started, and I was just like, no, 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 this is just shit. We will not be covering bloody pom poms on this podcast.
Online as well, before I was rudely interrupted. It wasn't funny. It made me cringe. Welcome to Zombieland. Like,
No, that's a
oh,
good show.
yeah. I don't know. I just thought because it was talking about like, I wonder because it makes you wonder. Did they watch this film and think that's a good title? Let's use
I
that
wouldn't
for a
be
film.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I can totally see where this film would have like a cult following. Like that's a perfect example, actually. Bloody Pom Poms, which I just referenced. You watch that; it's a bit of a throwback, but it's just not well made. And I mentioned the fact that this isn't the most wonderfully directed movie, but you can see that there's some talent involved. You can see there's a bit of money. You can see that there's a love for, not the source material, but, it's inspiration. And it comes through on screen. This isn't one of those films where you have to kind of get over the fact that, it just all looks a bit shit. It's like, it doesn't look shit. I know we mentioned the opening sequence isn't fantastic, but for the most part, you can see it's being made with a level of love and care, I think, which, lesser films of this. There are a lot of films which might have the same premise, and you're like, oh, that's a cool. And we've said it a bunch of times. There are certain films where you're like, oh, that's a cool premise. You watch the trailer, and you're like, I don't need to see any more of it. It's a fun trailer. I'm not convinced it's going to be a good 90-minute film. This is, I know it's not quite 90 minutes, it's 84 minutes, but it's totally worthy of the 84 minutes for sure.
Yeah,
Should we,
I totally agree.
anything else to add, or should we move on to
I'm
favorite
just
scene?
looking at my note. I mean, this is one of the for the shortest film. I think I wrote the most notes for this for a while. Um, but I think we've had. I think we've covered it all. Yeah, that's it. Really, I'm good.
All right, so favorite scene, I'm caught between two. So it might be the full reveal of Vincent Price cut against full zombie mode, Treat Williams cutting through town on a motorbike, if only for the line, poor people are supposed to die, we're rich, God wants us to live forever. And when Vincent Price is delivering that line, you're like, oh, we're onto something, pretty special here. And just great looks all around. And at that point, I like Vince Price looks great, Treat Williams looks fantastic. But the reality is, it's probably the butcher shop scene with Mr. Thule and Professor Toru Tanaka. That sequence is just so goddamn bananas, and it's the one I'll probably remember years from now. If you mention this film 3 years from now, I'm like, is that the one with like the Chinese restaurant? Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Same with me. I mean, I already told you that was this. When that happened, I was like, oh well, I'm gonna love this film. As soon as I saw that, well, I'm gonna love this film. I absolutely adore that scene. It's fucking insane. It's batshit crazy. Things are coming out. Things are coming alive that you wouldn't expect to come alive, and all of a sudden, like I said, the rapey cow just walks out of the freezer. Just right, my turn now.
And it's interesting that the two scenes you've referenced there, they're both mental, but in different ways. Because I said, like the ending felt more like Get Out, whereas that sequence felt more like Bad Taste. But both scenes work within the confines of this utterly bizarre movie. So I'll pick the one at the end with Vincent Price, and because you picked the butcher one. But both scenes are absolutely fantastic. I think they're the two standouts for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of loves and hates, my three loves. Number one, wonderfully done premise. At its core, a police officer coming back. It's kind of like the zombie version of RoboCop. It's like you're a cop, you get killed, but then you come back to finish the job. Kind of has that vibe. Not quite as subtle as RoboCop, admittedly, and dare I say, not quite as good as RoboCop. Number two, Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo, very watchable. Like they genuinely have fantastic chemistry in this film. And number three, I love the resolutely B-movie tone. And I was thinking of fourth, Vincent Price showing up at the end in full regalia was fantastic. So those are my loves.
I think we're round about the same. So I love the core relationship between the partners. So the bond between Roger and Doug is great. It's like the emotional anchor. I absolutely adore their bromance, the wisecracks, the loyalty, the undead vengeance. It's for lack of a terrible pun, it's like the film's not so beating heart.
It's okay. You can say whatever you want after I said this movie's a treat earlier with Treat Williams being in the lead role. So yeah, you can get away with whatever you want at this point.
Yep. The practical effects and the gore gags I think are great. We've already said the reanimated butchers, the exploding corpses, the gooey grotesque visuals. It's absolutely fantastic. I love the celebration of the practical effects in it.
Yeah. No, great stuff. Great stuff.
The other one then finally the genre mashups that you get within it. So it blends buddy cop action, zombie horror, slapstick comedy, it's fucking lovely. It's such a good ride.
It does a lot. Like, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good point. Like you said, with some of the slapstick comedy, it's like if you throw this much at the wall, it rarely works. This movie gets away with it. It really
yeah.
does, for the most part. But
It's just
like you said, it's not without faults. But yeah, it
oh
gets
yeah,
away with it for
absolutely.
sure.
But for the budget, it's just 80s excess, isn't it? It's just like what can we throw at
So
the wall and
80s.
see what sticks. It's just all. So I think it's
It,
great.
it
Yeah,
is it is wonderfully 80s. Like it is something of a time capsule movie. If you
yeah,
want to look back, if you're looking for like perfect examples, what did the 80s look like? This is what the fucking 80s look like, dude.
yeah,
In terms of hates, number one, as much as I love the tone, it is patchy. I think it's at its best when it's all in on its kind of, its themes and its inspirations and all that jazz. It doesn't quite commit for the full 84 minutes, but it does for the most part, but it does have a few wobbles. Two, I mentioned earlier, but the ending is absurdly abrupt. I think it really was
yeah.
forced into position just so I think they just had that line and they wanted that to be like the last line of the movie, or one of the last lines, as it were. And as I mentioned earlier, the whole McNabb, Mr. Thule, Arthur P. Loudermilk triumphative is very confusing to say the least. And I'm
Yeah.
glad we're on the same page. And especially Loudermilk's plan, God knows, fucking God knows better. It is what it is.
For me, as much as I love the bond between them, I think Joe Piscopal's performance it can get a bit much on its own.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think I know you're trying, dude. And if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the film, or even if you have and you've gone who's Joe Piscopo, maybe just look for Joe Piscopo's Miller ads, Miller Lite ads from the 80s. Like
What an
they are
absolute joy.
glorious, but
That
they are
was the
glorious.
that might be the best thing about this film, was the fact that because we did this, you sent me those Miller Lite adverts. Unreal.
Yeah.
I
Like
mean,
there's
you've got
no
to tell the one in particular, dude.
so I'll save that one for the end. So there's one where he's a wrestler. Great.
It's good
There's
fun, yeah.
one where he's a rapper. I think he's like MC Tubby. I didn't send you that one.
Mhm.
And then there's one where he's Bruce Lee.
And
And
it's
it's
exactly what you think it is.
yes, it is. It's never gonna work this day and age. It's not gonna fly at all. But for some reason they thought, 1986, this will work. Let's
Yeah,
dress him up like Bruce Lee.
I think that didn't make it past the 80s. Like even
No.
like the 90s, they were just like, nah, dude, we can't do this. This is so racist.
Yeah.
It's so don't get me wrong, it falls into that again, I'd say that bracket where it's so ridiculous. Watching it now, that you're like, you can't even find it racist. It is, but you can't be upset about it because it's
Yeah.
so beyond the pale. It is into that. Like, don't get me wrong, it might have felt different in 1988. There's probably a window of time where that felt super racist. I think it goes so far beyond that, where you're just like, man, what a time it was in 1988 when you thought that Miller Lite, one of the biggest beers in
Yeah.
America, is like, this is what we're going to go for. Crazy.
My second one is probably the wasted potential of the premise. So the idea of the undead cop solving crimes is fun, but it doesn't capitalize on it half the time, does it? And like you said, the ending is abrupt as hell. The plot just lurches around the reanimated corpses, but doesn't go anywhere with it. It's lacking some cohesion and world building. I don't know.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like you say, it really feels, in terms of, like you say, the premise, it feels like you finally get there after the ambulance crash. When he comes, and it feels like a different movie almost, when it kind of unpeels the body bag and you get the smoke and he has the look and everything. You're like, oh, this is kind of the movie I thought it was going to be. As you say, it's a gender kind of hodgepodge for the entire movie, which is great fun. But to your point, it does mean that the premise is somewhat undercut.
Yeah. If if it sounds like I'm more wordy on loves and hates than I usually am, it's I've really thought about the. I thought, I can't just do one words all. I can't do one words all the time. We're not gonna. So I've decided to think about it for once.
I thought you were being particularly eloquent today. I was like, this is a fine turn. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. So that's the thing, though. You've set the bar now. You've set the bar. You've got to keep it up. Same with the intro, dude. Like, great intro. This is the new. That's the expectation now. Can't go below it.
Next week's episode is going to go back to like I really thought, but I thought no, Liam does well on these. I gotta try for once. Just try.
Just go completely the other way next week. I don't like color. Oh, here we go.
So for my third one, is it's basically the same as what you said. I wrote it down as like the tone, like you get a bit of tone whiplash. Like what did I put? So it's trying to juggle horror, action, comedy. So I said it blends the mashups. The balance, it doesn't always feel smooth. Some scenes veer into like like I said, the slapsticks where others aim for genuine gore or suspense. It just, I don't know. Sometimes it can just feel a bit cringy as well.
Well, it was like, we mentioned earlier when what's the name died? Randy James. And then actually, so we forgot to mention there's a scene where Randy James and Becky Smithers like very briefly meet each other, and they immediately give off the vibe that they don't like each other. And I was like, is this just a joke about how women don't like each other? I was like, I think it is, because there's no explanation for it. But when she melts, it suddenly feels properly dark and quite violent. You're like, oh my God, this is like as disturbing as this movie gets. But it's immediately followed up by the talking skull scene. So yeah, whiplash is the term used, and I think that is absolutely apt. Because yeah, it's a lot and it does add to the fun, but it's massively inconsistent. Massively inconsistent.
And that's it. That's all three.
Any alternative titles to Dead Heat?
Which
I'm still trying to decide whether I even like the title Dead Heat.
I mean, the Dead Heat doesn't actually tell you what's happening on the screen, does it?
No, is it?
Let's
is
be
it?
fair.
Is it actually a nod to Red Heat? Because
I don't know.
Red Heat was released the same year.
Same year, yeah.
But and it's another movie about two cops. Is it just a kind of pun?
I don't know.
It might be. But I can't say for sure. But anyway.
So Argentina was Twice Dead.
That's better.
It's better than Brazil's. And Otherworldly Cop.
No, don't like it.
Canada weren't sure, well, French Canada weren't sure what they watched, so they just went, was it Cop or Zombie?
Cop or Zombie?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Hungary, May I Rest in Peace. Italy, Cops Beyond Life.
Nope.
Japan, Zombie Cop.
Yeah, fair enough.
Peru, Police Revenge.
Nope.
Philippines, Iron Cops.
Definitely not.
Poland, Death Fever.
No, that sounds like a plague film.
Portugal, No Time to Live. I mean, Russia, Mortal Fury.
No, I'm having
it. Spain, We're Dead or What?
That's okay.
Sweden, Deadly Heat.
Yeah,
and
I guess.
Finally, Yugoslavia, Zombie Detective.
I quite like Zombie Detective. I'm convinced that it is a pun now, and it is in reference to Red Heat. Because you've got to think, if this is being made at the same time, Red Heat, obviously, as we mentioned on last week's podcast, didn't turn into the biggest hit. But in 1988, when it's being released, they're just like, oh, dude, Arnie is making a movie where they're like, and he's with Jim Belushi and they're cops. The expectation is that's going to be a massive hit, one of the biggest hits of the summer. And then like, oh, we can play up to that by, calling this one Dead Heat. Because otherwise, I think you do call it like Zombie Cop. There's no reason to call it Dead Heat. So yeah, very strange, very strange. Perhaps that question will get answered in facts or not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
But okay. The building used for Dante Pharmaceuticals is also the set of the movie Biodome 8 years later.
Awesome. I mean, Biodome, we probably will do on this podcast one day.
Yeah.
But it's not good. It's not good.
Vincent Price filmed his scenes in 3 days, and the film was shot in 37 days.
No fucking round.
So you already mentioned the car was a Chevrolet, but it was a 1960 Chevrolet Impala convertible.
It's a very cool car.
Yeah. The lead character is Roger Mortis. I'm not telling you. We already got the joke. It was Rigor Mortis. UK stand-up comedian Bernard Manning initially auditioned for the role of Doug Bigelow, but ultimately lost out to Joe Piscopo.
That could have been a slightly different movie, to say the least.
Right, said Fred.
That's bizarre. That is bizarre.
Oh my God.
If you're like, how could this movie be stranger? That'd be it. That'd be it for sure.
So if you're trying to figure out who Bernard Manning is for our American listeners, if you don't know who he was one of the granddads of the companions in Doctor Who. He was Catherine Tate's granddad, was it?
I don't watch Doctor Who.
Well, you should. Or shouldn't.
No, I tried. It's weird, Doctor Who, because everything on paper suggests it's something I would like, but I've tried it and it just doesn't click for me.
Along with featuring a similar general premise to DOA from 1949, it also has a main character with the surname Bigelow. And DOA was the film on screen.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
And it features the big reveal of the movie in the scene where Randy and Roger return to Randy's house and find Doug dead.
The big reveal, which nobody gave a shit about. No, like I honestly I couldn't believe it. It's so low key. I wasn't making that up, by the way. That I just assumed it was just some random dude. Like my brain just wouldn't accept that it was fucking Joe Piscopo.
Body count was 32 in this film, which is quite high.
That's relatively high. Although, how many of them are actually dead? That's the
How many come back to life? Yeah. And writer Terry Black was approached by New World Pictures to write a sequel to Dead Heat. Black told a New World executive that a sequel would be hard to do because all the main characters died at the end of the first film. The executive responded with, "You got a resurrection machine? Figure it out."
I mean, in fairness, he could have figured it out.
Yeah, the sequel was never made.
Yeah, and this film wasn't a big hit. I mean, it had a $5 million budget. Its initial theatrical run, I think it was like 3.7 million or something.
3.6, 3.7, yeah.
It probably just about got over the line with like VHS sales and all the other nonsense. But yes, it wasn't a massive hit by any stretch of the imagination.
That's it. That's it for facts.
Hugs the Future, so it's where we ask a question: remake, sequel, Let It Die, or Leave Well Alone. It's Let It Die, and no pun intended there. But this is a movie of its time. I don't need to see a remake. As you said, I don't think this movie needs a sequel. It's this weird little piece of 80s cinema madness, which I'm more than like. Let It Die sounds like I'm being kind of dismissive, and I don't want to say Leave Well Alone because that sounds a bit too precious. It is Let It Die, but in a nice way, I think.
No, it's Leave Well Alone. Like I love this film all of a sudden. Don't be wrong, it's not 5-star. It might not. Spoiler alert: it's probably not going to be a 4-star.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Like even for its faults and everything, these are the films I live for. These are the films I lived for growing up. And I'm gutted I never rented this from my local St. Mellon's video shop.
I'm still amazed that you didn't. To be honest.
I'm so upset it passed me by. But I had a great time with it, mate. And
yeah, well, I mean, you're kind of tiptoeing around ratings and recommendations, which based on what you said, are going to be almost exactly the same. But before we get there, make a change. This is where we ask the question: if you could make one change to this movie to make it a superior product, as it were, what would you do? For me, it's definitely tighten up the core plot and specifically sort of the aforementioned so I've used that word once. Threesome. See, if I say threesome now, that just sounds like a weird sex thing. The whole thing with McNabb, Mr. Thule, and Loudermilk, it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And it's just one of those. There's just one too many bad guys, and I'm not asking for like a masterpiece of like narrative or any of that nonsense or script writing. It just make it a little bit more sensible. That's all. But that's what I'll go for.
For me, you're with Roger Mortis for like 90% of the film, maybe even 100%. Yeah. So maybe just a bit more character development for him. You don't know anything about him other than the fact that he died and came back to life.
Yeah, you really like literally, it's just like he's the slightly straight cop to Joe Piscopo's like sex pest basically.
I don't think you need. You don't need character development for Doug Bigelow because you get it all. My ex-wife, so he's already got ex-wives. He's a wisecracker. He, sexual innuendos. You don't need that. That's the character. That's fine. But for your main character, I think a bit more character development is probably needed for that.
Yeah. I don't need to know that Joe Piscopo is like actually bipolar and he goes home in the evening and just cries for like hours on end because I can imagine that's exactly what he's like. But yeah, I don't need to see that in the movie.
That fish tank was empty when they put him in there. His tears just filled it up. He slowly drowned.
Like nobody actually put him in there. That's how he killed himself. It's like so sad. In terms of video games, I mean, let's be clear. It seems the perfect game for a late 80s ocean style side scroller for like the Commodore and Atari. The kind of game we actually had last week for Red Heat, surprisingly enough. But the answer is Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse by Wide Load Games. It's for the OG Xbox. It was actually re-released with like, it's still the same game, but like higher resolution. So it's not a remake, it's a remaster. But it totally shares the B-movie aesthetic, only in that you're just playing a zombie. It's just the same game, only you're cops instead. So that'd be what I'd go for.
Get out of my fucking head.
Well, it's the right answer, dude. It's the right answer.
It is. It's so the right answer. Yeah. Yeah,
it's Stubbs the Zombie. I'm not even going to say, like, you could probably pick it up on sale now and have like a few hours of fun. But tonally, it's absolutely bang on for this film. Best and worst of IMDb. So this is where we pick a random 1-star and 10-star review for this film. As for how many reviews there are for this film, 67?
96. I'm pretty sure there's more reviews for this than Red Heat itself. Yeah, I have to double check that.
I think I lowballed it because I got caught out last week with I went totally overboard on Red Heat. But I'm probably not that surprised because I suspect it's the kind of movie, because it's so niche and such a cult movie, that when people do finally watch it, however they feel about it, they feel like they have to tell people.
Yeah.
It's like Red Heat, as much as it's like fine, I don't think anyone's watching that and being like, oh, I'm gonna have to write a review about this. I have to let the world know
Well,
how I feel about Red Heat.
Red Heat has 166 and this has 96, so I was wrong.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But Red Heat also starred Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was like,
Yeah.
a major motion picture back in 1988. So
Hey, Treat Williams deserves his flowers. That's all I'm saying.
absolutely, absolutely. 10-star reviews, 17.
10.
Oh,
10 star reviews. 10 star? Yeah, 10 star reviews. Yeah. So this one was written in March of 2005, titled Great Action Packed Film. Dead Heat is one of the most different action films that has a great cast, including Treat Williams, Joe Piscopo, Lindsay Frost, Darren McGavin, Vincent Price, Clark O'Connell, Robert Picardo, Professor Toru Tanaka, Shane Black, Dick Miller. The acting by all of these actors is very good, especially by Williams, Piscopo, and McGavin. I thought the action was awesome and the horror was good. The movie is filmed good. The music is great by Ernest Troost, great directing by Mark Goldblatt. The film is quite interesting and the movie really keeps you going until the end. This is a very good non-stop action 80s film. If you like Treat Williams, Joe Piscopo, Darren McGavin, Vincent Price, the rest of the cast in the film, action, science fiction, horror, thrillers, mysteries, and interesting films, then I strongly recommend you to see this film today. Fucking hell.
Yeah, like to sum up, movie is good. It has these people in it. Okay,
Yes.
dude, we get it. It's like you can read IMDb. Unbelievable.
Did he have to meet the quota? Because this film stars all these people. If you like all these people, then watch a film that has all these people.
Do you know what it felt like? It felt like the kind of like, if you had to write a review for film class when you were like 16 and they had like a 100 word like limit, and like, oh no, I haven't. So I'm just going to keep writing names until I get it over the fucking finish line. Ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if like 1 stars it had like the same. I'm going to say 10 again.
5.
I'm glad there's less.
Yeah. Right, so this one was written in November 2005, so pretty much the same year. Titled "This Movie is Awful, but a Must See." So this is going to be a contradiction. Yeah, okay. This movie is really, really bad. Bad acting, bad writing, bad exposition. But regardless, it's a lot of fun to watch. Now, I didn't say he did write bad writing twice, so he really does write the writing. Yeah. It's one of those.
I was trying to figure out if it was like a joke, which kind of went over my head, but whatever.
Yeah. It's one of those things that come on television around 4 a.m. and you watch it because there's nothing else on. Because CUZ. Yeah.
Get about a cur.
The dialogue and jokes are atrocious. For example, there is the line where Joe Piscopo tells a joke. If you take the square miles in Rhode Island and multiply my ex-girlfriend's weight, that's it. That's the entire joke. No punchline, no closure, no nothing. It's so bad, it's hilarious.
I quite like it.
I like that joke. There are some pretty decent special effects, though. Do not miss the scene in the butcher shop where all the meat comes to life. The scene where the chick from the chemical company decomposes in the bathroom in about 30 seconds is pretty cool. That's it.
1 star. Well, it actually reads like a 3-star review, which it feels about right, because leading into our own rated recommendations, it's a 3 and a no from me. 3, but it's one of those like really fun 3-star movies. There's no way I'm giving it higher than a 3 because that's far too many faults. And if somebody told me that they watched this and they absolutely hated it, I would get it. It's not for everyone, and I'm not going out and telling everyone in work that they have to watch this fucking movie. I have sent the trailer to a few of my friends, but the trailer will be enough for a lot of them. But if you are, basically listening to this podcast, there is every chance it might be for you. And for all its faults, there is a really fun movie in here. So yeah, it's a 3-star, but like a really strong 3-star. I'm just not recommending Dead Heat to random people. Out of the question.
Like the same, it's a 3-star from me, and it's a no. But it's a no because, once again, all the people I would recommend this to are basically you and Dave.
Yeah.
From my personal life. Like, if somebody, like, I always use if somebody come up to me saying, I got this film, should I watch it? I kind of know you're not going to like this film, so don't. Like,
I like you said, when we think of this, we're always like, basically, I just imagine like I'm sitting in work and there's people on the desk, and it's like I got one guy who's like not into films, another one who watches some of them, and one of my friends is like really into films, but he's really into like kind of like art house, European cinema, all that jazz, and I'm like, maybe he could find a bit of joy in this because he's kind of cinematically kind of au fait when it comes to these things. But yeah, I'm not just going to tell the other guys. Like one of the guys at my desk hasn't even seen Die Hard. I'm not going to tell him to watch fucking Dead Heat. It's absolutely out of the question. So it is a no, but it's very much a yes for a very niche audience, to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like we're completely on the same page. So yeah, that's been 1988's Dead Heat. What a ride that was! What an absolutely joyous ride. Next week, my choice. Now you have two options. It's either 2012 or 1983.
Fucking hell.
And 2012 isn't the movie 2012 starring John Cusack, just to be clear.
Okay. So if I don't pick one year, are you gonna use this again, or will you tell me what I didn't pick? Like this is what you could have won.
No, because I want to do both of them. I want to do both of them.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go 83. In year of birth. I gotta go 83.
Yeah, for your bet. All right, so 1983. The director is David Cronenberg.
Oh fucking hell, David Cronenberg, 1983.
This is another movie for my sins I've never seen.
Okay.
And it's bizarre because I've seen nearly all of David Cronenberg's films.
Yeah.
The star is James Woods.
Ah. Videodrome?
You nailed it. That is correct.
Yeah.
So 1983's Videodrome, which is, I've seen so many clips of how weird that film is. And I'm like, dude, how have you not seen this? Like, I love that kind of weird sounding cinematic style of David Cronenberg. I like James Wood. It's this cinematic blind spot for me. I'm like, I need to sort this out, man.
This is the film I kind of get confused with Brain Dead or Brain Scan. What I call Brain Scan. Like it every time I think of it, I always think when I think of Brain Scan, and I think about it more than I should. I always picture the poster of this where the guy's coming through the screen because yeah, it's all about the same thing. Video games, or in this case, I'm pretty sure Videodrome is about.
This is going to be a better movie.
TV and stuff.
This is well reviewed. I mean, this is like 83% Rotten Tomatoes, 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. It's supposedly a very iconic, influential movie, but I've not seen it, so I'm not going to say anything until next week. But like I said, it's one of those films. It's been on the list forever, and I was going to watch it literally. Like a couple of years ago, because it's on Sky Movies at the moment.
Okay.
But I was like, oh, no, this is one for the podcast for sure. And I just had for some reason, watching Dead Heat reminded me of Videodrome. I have no fucking idea why. So yeah, now's as good a time as any. Although if you'd picked 2012, we would have been doing a completely different movie.
I'm intrigued now. I do want like the game show. This is what you could have won. Letdown.
No. We can still do it because we'll do it in the future at some point.
Okay.
All right. So 2012. I don't think you're going to get it from based on the director. Sorry, I just put my notes down. So this is a bit of a tricky one. So the director's Pete Travis.
I don't know who that is.
Exactly. But I think most people know this movie because it's written by Alex Garland. And it's one of those movies where it's so associated to Alex Garland that I think, myself included, a lot of people assumed that he directed it.
No, I need some more.
You'll get on the next one. It stars Carl Urban.
From 2012?
Yeah.
Dredd?
Yeah.
Oh, Dredd! I didn't even know Alex Garland wrote it.
Oh, see, that was I thought Alex Garland both wrote and directed it. I just totally assumed he directed it because whenever you saw Dredd being advertised, the big thing was like, oh, it was written by Alex Garland. But I just, some point in my brain, kind of like with the whole, Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas, I just assumed he directed it as well. But no, it's Pete Travis, whose other directorial efforts aren't quite as memorable. But Dredd is a movie I absolutely adore.
I adore this film. I'm a big fan of this film. I will put a veto on for now. We cannot do this film until we do the Stallone Judge Dredd. Yeah,
that's a good point. No, so this has probably worked out well because, we really do need to. In a perfect world, what we should be doing is we should do those back to back. We should absolutely do those movies. We should just do Judge Dredd and then Dredd because it's a perfect example of how to and not to do a comic book movie. It's like the worst adaptation and the best adaptation. I don't think that's even an overstatement. In terms of like just nailing a character, it's like Dredd fucking nails it, man. Absolutely nails it.
Totally agree. Dredd totally nails it, but also I do like Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd is campy fun. I've got a soft spot for Judge Dredd. Like, it's not the same as this, where I'm like, oh, Dead Heat, it doesn't all work. It's a bit of a mess, but it's still good. Judge Dredd is ass, but it's oddly watchable. It's one of those films. Like, I'm like every time I watch it, I'm like, man, this is bad. And then I'm like, how many times have I seen this film? I've watched it like 7 times. It's really strange.
Yeah.
So, oh, dude, I totally want to do those movies back to back. I just want to do Dredd and Judge Dredd.
We can't because
Sorry, not in that order. Judge Dredd.
Judge
and
Dredd is
Wednesday.
part of a season coming up, though, isn't it? So
It
we got to
is.
be
Oh,
careful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What we could
Well,
do is
no, no.
what we could do is save Judge Dredd for the last of that season, and then
Yeah,
go
yeah,
straight
yeah.
into Dredd for the week after.
No, I think that's a plan. I think that's
Yeah.
a plan. But yeah, before we do that, see, we're all excited about doing Dread now
Videodrome.
instead of doing. Oh, I guess we're doing Videodrome next week. But I do think Videodrome will be fun. Yeah. Wait.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Have you seen it?
So a long time ago. Now
Okay,
it's
okay.
not like Red Heat from last week where I said I've seen it. Turns out I may not have.
Yeah.
I know I've seen video. I can't remember anything about it, but I know
Yeah.
I've seen Videodrome. I mean, you don't forget James Woods. It's like the creepy uncle. You know when you've been to your creepy uncle's house. I know I've seen Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd. I know I've seen Videodrome.
I think this is our first James Woods movie. Actually,
I believe so, unless he's like
we haven't done Vampires 2000 or whatever the fuck it was called.
Vampires. John Carpenter's Vampires.
Was it just called John Carter?
Yeah, it was just
Was there a movie called Dracula 2000? Am I making that up? I'm sure there was a horror film.
There
called
was
2000.
there was Dracula 2000.
Oh, okay,
They had a stint of it. Putting 2000 in the title, round about 2000.
It was everything. It was like
Yeah.
2K this, 2K that. Bollocks.
Vampires was filmed in 1998, so I gotta check that now.
A great movie from what I recall.
Films have 2000 in the title.
There must be a few. There must be a few. I'm amazed that 2K games stuck with it because 2K was such of its time, and like the first 2K video games came out around that time. I remember it was like 2K football or 2K NFL 2K. There was NBA 2K, and they were really good. Like NFL 2K has fallen the way of the dodo because of fucking EA Sports, but NFL 2K was like the best football game on the market for a long time. And obviously NBA 2K has survived, and we're in a world now where we're even calling WWE 2K. How that has survived, I don't know. It's kind of like, mind you, it's like the Xbox. We've all just become so accustomed to the name Xbox. It's only when you stop. If somebody made a console today and called it the Xbox, you'd be like, dude, that is so fucking 2001. Yes, it was 2001.
Not as many as I thought from the year 2000, like around the year 2000. So Death Race 2000 was 1975. So
yeah, still 2000, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I'll tell you the ones that were named 2000, but the ones that I was thinking of that were released around about the same year. So you had like Blues Brothers 2000 in 98.
Of course, yeah.
Godzilla 2000 in 99. It was a Japan film.
Okay.
Japanese film, not Japan film. Fantasia re-released, and that was Fantasia 2000. Heavy Metal 2000, that was a sci-fi animated sequel to the original Heavy Metal. Yeah. And then Dracula 2000. But then you had Death Race 2000 from 1975. A post-apocalyptic romantic Avenger called Cherry 2000, and of course, as we all know, a made-for-TV movie that tried to reboot the iconic talking car franchise. We had Knight Rider 2000 from 1991.
Of course we did. And very close, we obviously had 2001 A Space Odyssey. Not quite, but worth mentioning because that movie's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched 2001 A Space Odyssey?
Again, a long time ago. Yeah,
one of those films. I convinced myself. I was like, oh, this is going to have aged and all these other things. And I watched it and I was like, fuck, I should have watched that in the cinema. I bet you, because they show every so often it comes back. I bet you that movie on 4K on a cinema screen looks absolutely amazing. The effects have held up so well that the only thing that truly ages it are actually the low-key moments when the guys are just sitting round. When they're sitting round, the way they carry themselves, they look like guys from the 50s and 60s. But as soon as you get into like the heady sci-fi stuff, especially if you've got like a really good cut of it, I watched it on Blu-ray, but it'll be on 4K now. You're just like, I cannot fucking believe how good this movie looks.
It's just, I always think back to that line. Is it Hal when he says, "I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that now," or David, or whatever he says. I'm sorry, David, I can't do that now. Yeah.
Such a great. How on this podcast we got from Dead Heat to 2001: A Space Odyssey? It's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Because we are random as fuck, dude. How many side notes do we take? How many just like jumps do we make on this podcast? There's no linear direction for us in this.
Well, we have very eclectic taste when it comes to movies as well. But anyway, I think that's a fine place to end. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, we can wrap it up there. Again, I am being not heckled, but I am being beckoned for dinner. So
yeah, it'd be harsh if you were being heckled, especially before you made it. Your dinner shit. It's like I haven't even made it yet. Fuck you, it sucks. Yeah. All right, I'm Liam. He's been Rob. I've been Liam. He's been Rob. You have been listening to There You Go's podcast. Cheers, guys. See you next week.
It's like calling me out when I did the intro. I'm Liam. You're Rob. Like, oh fuck, I fucked that up. Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.